I am Dawn Padilla. I am Jacob Reyes' mom, and he passed away on May 13th of 2018. Jacob is the youngest of a set of twins and was feisty from the beginning. His twin stayed in the NICU. Jacob went home right away. As a baby, always happy, smiling, prankster, coaxing his brother, harassing the siblings, just constantly full of energy, laughter, smiles. As a kid, hiding in places and coming out, just kind of guy. To this day, even after he's passed, one of his friends, Matt, ended up at a Dodger game and swore he saw Jacob out of the side of his peripheral vision and was just waiting the entire game for Jacob to come out and scare him because that's how he was. Huge Dodger fan. I don't know when he became a Dodger fan. Always with an LA Dodgers hat. Dirty, clean. Loved Dodger games. I'm gonna attribute it to his brother-in-law, who he was pretty close to. I don't remember him as a kid being very, into baseball, but as he got older, definite diehard Dodger fan. He didn't play sports Little League-wise, but he did play freshman football, him and his twin. Their freshman team, Roland High School, undefeated. He really liked it. I don't know that his twin liked it so much. He had a gift of very long legs. He was fast. He was pretty stealthy. Family-wise, sports were just out in the street or in somebody's backyard or just, hanging out with the friends. His older brother, I think, regretted not playing sports. So when he did start playing football, he was at every game and wanted to be a big part of it. But his truest love was definitely his guitar. For his and Jeremy's 16th birthday, family got together and found out what they wanted, and Jacob's gift was an acoustic guitar. And from day one, that guitar went everywhere with him. He learned how to play from either YouTube videos or just by playing with it himself, hearing. Very first song he learned how to play from beginning to end was Tears in Heaven by Eric Clapton. Jacob's girlfriends. We only met one girl that Jacob considered, I guess, a girlfriend. I don't think he ever labeled her as girlfriend, but he did bring her around to things. They worked together at Lowe's. His personality was extremely infectious. He was always very social, talkative, funny. He always made you feel welcome and important and part of whatever group he was in, whether it was his friends or his family. I think he had a lot of females and males that gravitated towards him because he was so welcoming and friendly. He never made anybody feel like they didn't belong in whatever group they were in, even if it was a large group. He was always able to pick out somebody who maybe was standing out by themselves and somehow include them and make them feel a little more comfortable. I mean, he didn't have to spend the whole time with them, but it was just enough for them to get comfortable enough to be a part of. I do know that the one girl that we met, and forgive me because I can't remember her name, she was very sweet and very nice. She did come around a few times, and she struggled when Jacob passed. She sent me some pictures of them in some groups. And I looked at these pictures thinking, why does my son always look like a slob? Like every picture, his hair is messy or long or uncombed. But because of his personality and just being him, never afraid to just be him, I think, gave that opportunity for other people to just be themselves as well, knowing that he would be able to accept them and include them without any judgment or stereotyping or anything like that. He would just allow everybody to be who they were and be happy with it, just like him that night. Weird night. Couldn't sleep. I was up till about 2. Weird, kind of off feeling. We went to bed, my husband and I, and at 3 a.m. we got the loud banging on the door and the constant ringing, and my husband got up, answered the door, and it was Manny, Jacob's roommate, screaming, Jacob's gone, he's dead. My husband, I heard him say, "What?" And I heard Manny's sister say, "There was an accident, Jacob's at the hospital." And that's when I jumped up and just asked, "What hospital?" And she said, "Pomona Valley." And Manny just kept yelling, "He's gone, he's dead." And sheer panic, anxiety, and just threw a sweatshirt on, sandals, got in the car, went, ran into the emergency room and asked. I was, at the office. I was told my son Jacob Reyes is here. And this man looked at me and I knew. He just said, "Give me a minute." And walked in the back and came back and escorted us to a small room. And the first person we saw was one of the nurses who helped. And she just apologized, said they did everything they could. She hugged me, she left. Doctor and a social worker came in, said the same thing. Asked if we wanted to see him. Of course. Because the incident was a hit and run, he became an automatic coroner's case, so stipulations with that are you can't touch them. Any means of medical care has to stay in place, IV lines, intubation tubes, any procedures they did that got sewn up. So how do you not touch your son? But I understood. I remember walking in this room and there was just his face exposed with the intubation tube sticking out, and all I could see was his chin in the tube, and I just collapsed. My husband helped me, and all I could do was hold his hand over the sheet. I had asked permission to kiss my son's forehead. You just want to hold them. You never want that to be your last image of your child. He was only 24. To have somebody tell you that some person out there in the world ran over your son and left. And then you come in and they're gone. Just gone. We don't know who hit and run. We know what kind of car it was, but there were no cameras. On a very large intersection, I believe it was White and Orangethorpe over Pomona, just south of the 10. I still can't drive down that street. As far as I am aware, and I don't have confirmation, I believe that the case is closed. I just don't have the heart to call and find out. I believe that they did a door-to-door knock questions, and one or two people had said that they heard a thumping and looked out the window but didn't really see anything. But I don't think that that person will ever be found. I don't even know if they know what happened. I try to imagine that it wasn't done purposely, somebody leaving out of fear. I think for me, it makes me feel better that maybe it was an accident. Somebody fell asleep or had something else going on that maybe they just weren't aware of what they did. I think that helps me have a little more faith in society that there's somebody out there who could hurt somebody and just leave. What would I say to that person? Obvious questions. Why? What happened? Why wouldn't you stop? Could I forgive? I want to feel like I could. Sometimes I feel like I have. There's always that little part that kind of tugs on you. I was always raised, right, to forgive. You don't have to forget. You should forgive, because forgiveness helps you heal, not necessarily that person. But I don't know that I'm over the anger yet, but maybe someday, if that person ever shows up or appears, I like to think that I could find it within myself to let myself be free of the pain and the anger, but I'm not quite sure I'm there yet. The memorial. The memorial was eye-opening. After everything happened, I think for my daughter, who was very close to Jacob, for her to get through the process, she had to take 100% control of everything. She took care of any money that came in, because people would send cards with, I guess that's what you do when people pass, you send money. Her and my sisters took my phone, and they dealt with the hundreds of thousands of phone calls that kept coming in. She dealt with the cemetery, the church. I was there. I remember going through the motions. My sister, my older sister, She was a teacher at the time, and she gave a project to some of her kids because Jacob was cremated, and my sister made the urn that his ashes were buried in. And some of her kids made small guitars with little holes in the back, and three of them, we put his ashes, a little bit ashes in all of them. I have one, his twin has one, and I can't remember if Tara or Daniel has the other one. The church was overflowing. I knew Jacob knew a lot of people. I didn't know he had an impact on that many people. This church holds over 1,500 people, and there were people outside. We had the reception after, and more than half of those people left because they couldn't fit inside this small auditorium. One of Jacob's very close friends, Gil, he did a lot. He sent pretty much all the food for the after part. I can't really remember a lot of that night. I mean, that it was from passing to that night was about 3.5 weeks, and all of that's kind of a blur. I felt at the time that our immediate family, the kids, my husband, myself, were extremely close. You just want to cling. The burial was the next day. That was probably the second roughest. So I think the memorial is more memories, right? You get to hear stories and happy things. The burial is more of a finalization of everything. So watching that being put in the ground and covered was, I do remember that was the day I think my daughter finally broke. My older son Daniel had to basically carry her to the car because she couldn't. It was a rough couple weeks, even months after his birthday was about 5 weeks after the burial. His twin didn't really want to celebrate, so we just did an immediate family thing with the siblings, us. We went to the cemetery, hung out after. But a few weeks after that, I think is when the height of emotions became too much for some of us, and our family kind of broke. The youngest twin and my daughter had a little bit of an altercation, not necessarily, it didn't begin with them, but ended with them, and they kind of can be in the same place at the same time, but still don't talk 6 years later. It's hard because in a situation of losing a child, you just want to cling to all of them really tight. And they all kind of dispersed, right? My daughter still lives here, but Jeremy moved up to Washington State. Daniel's out in Oklahoma, which I'm proud. My kids are strong enough and adventurous enough to go do the things they want to do. But as a mom, you just want to pull them close and kind of glue them together, and you can't. So, I mean, my immediate family, my sisters, my mom, my nieces, my nephews, they all struggled, but the pain is different. They can't really understand it. So for them, even for my kids, life moves forward, right? It's sad and they have the memory, but for moms, you never go back to who you were before that moment. You'll never be that person. For me, I still 6 years later try to find who this new person is. People who are close to you know you're different. They don't really know how to interact. Like you still kind of feel like you are who you are. Your humor's still the same, your personality's still kind of the same, but your view on life and what's important is different. You become that person that would never happen to me. Now it's happened to you. I feel like sharing my story, my path, will help maybe at least one person to understand that you can try to find new normal. You cannot do it by yourself. Thank God for my husband, who has dealt with his own struggles with depression in this situation. He's kind of held me up along with the kids, my grandkids. You realize I have 5 children. They need me. My grandkids need me. My husband needs me. Therapy. Thank God for therapy. I went through 2 therapists before I finally found the one that was really good. And I still, to this day, 6 years later, see therapy monthly, sometimes every other week. I still don't know what my new normal is because it's still new. It's almost like you're a newborn trying to figure out how to walk, how to talk, how to eat. Sometimes even simple things like food doesn't sound good. And you just gotta move. It's like moving in water. Everything around you is moving quickly and efficiently, and you feel like you're just kind of slowly trying to get to the other side without being noticed, because you're constantly the center of attention. I think the first 2 years was hard for my family because I think they were afraid of talking about it because they didn't want to make me cry, which is super inevitable in this situation, right? Sometimes the tears are happy when you think of memories of Jacob annoying Allison when she was cutting his hair, or Jeremy, Jacob, and Tara recording themselves scaring me, popping out of a box. And then the happy comes, but the tears of his nieces never really knowing. It becomes a little hard. Like there's 2 that are pretty big. They're 14 now. They remember him really well. Neela was his girl. The other ones, they know him from things we talk about, stories we tell, pictures. The biggest thing is on the anniversary of his passing, we all meet at the cemetery and release butterflies. That's become a big thing, not just for my grandkids, but my great nieces and nephews, as well as his cousins and other family members. I hope that, I shouldn't say I hope, I know that he's there all the time. I know he's there when we release butterflies. I know he's there when I'm crying. I know he's there when I'm not crying. I know he's there when I'm happy. I know he's there when his siblings, his nieces, his nephews are doing things, you know, playing sports, going to dances, parties, whatever gathering we're having. I know he's there. You wish it was more of a physical presence. And that's something I don't think you can ever get away from. On top of the constant, I wonder if he would have ever gotten married. I wonder, you know, if he would have had kids, what his kids would have been like. Would they have been like him? Would he ever have been able to do anything with music, the thing that he loved? We have 24 years of memories, but that's it.
Right, authorities still trying to figure out exactly what happened. That victim found lying in the middle of the street. Tonight, you can see here, there is a memorial of candles. Friends say that the victim had simply gone to the store to get some cigarettes and he never came home. An early morning tragedy has Pomona police on the hunt for those involved in a deadly mystery, and the victim's family and friends searching for answers. The 25-year-old, identified as Jacob Reyes by friends, was struck and killed in an apparent hit-and-run, but detectives believe more than one vehicle may have been involved and say something else may have happened prior to him being run over. Police and paramedics were called to the scene at Orange Grove Avenue and Hamilton Boulevard around 2 a.m. Reyes was found lying in the street. The 25-year-old was rushed to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. Investigators say there was very little evidence at the scene and aren't sure if something may have happened to Reyes, causing him to collapse in the street before he was struck.
Knows anything, please contact Pomona Police and help the family get closure.
Thank you for doing this. I feel that you're going to help so many people who are in your situation. I know that there's not that closure because we don't know who did this. We don't know if this person will ever be found. So, you know, being able to kind of do this and be that person where other parents, even other family members can relate to, at least they know that, hey, I'm not alone. Hey, it's okay if I go and I get therapy. It's okay if I'm angry. It's okay if I'm sad, even years later, because it's an ongoing healing process. So, you know, I know that when we weren't recording, I was kind of telling you about Jacob, how he was standing. And you actually made reference to, you have a picture exactly like him standing kind of like this at a wedding. So just know that because they transition, their sense of humor continues on.
He shows that's for sure.
It's contagious, it's ongoing. But he wants you to know that he is with you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. He is never leaving you. He is here with you all the time. The only difference is that he's in the spiritual realm now. I know that a lot of questions always relate to, did he feel any pain? Was there any discomfort? Like, what happened? So what I can tell you is that everything happened very quickly. Okay, because that's what he's telling me. All I do know is that this person was intoxicated. He pretty much freaked out. It was a male driver, dark hair, has a mustache, kind of like a bushy mustache. I do see the color of the vehicle is a white, but it's like a dirty white, so kind of leads me to believe that this is an older vehicle. There was beer cans in the car. This is not the first time, and it's so unfortunate, not the first time that he has done this. He has just not been caught. But he has been caught driving under the influence. Now, will he ever be found? I don't know. Even 6 years later, 7 years later, 8 years later, 9 years later, people can still be found. Sometimes people are afraid to come forward. Sometimes people think, well, what if he or she finds out? What am I going to do? And sometimes after the fact, years later, people will still come forward. So what I'm feeling and what Spirit is also wanting you to know is that it's okay to forgive. It's okay to still spread the word, to get your son's name out there. And again, will this person ever be found? I honestly don't know.
Who wants to face that person? Maybe someday. I don't know that I could today.
You know, I always say this, and we've heard it from time to time, you know, whomever your higher power is. Everybody knows that my higher power is God. And it always says that God works in mysterious ways. And it's 100% true. 100% true. So know that when the time is right, you're going to start that path. You're going to start your journey. Right now is step one. By you coming here and sharing your story. That's the first step. And I know it's not easy. I know it's not, because I can feel your pain. I feel your hurt. I feel your anger.
Even under my laughter.
Even under your laughter.
Small steps.
Small steps, exactly. And Jacob is extremely proud of you. Extremely proud of you. He wants you again to know that he loves you tremendously. He's saying, I love my mama unconditionally, just how she loved me for all my faults, for all my errors. She was there for me, she guided me, she supported me through both good and bad times. That's what he's saying. And he also wants you to know that it was not an accident that the first song that he learned to play on his guitar was Tears in Heaven. He knew he was not going to be someone who was going to grow old in this world. He's saying, that's why I just wanted to have fun. I wanted to have fun. I wanted to make people laugh. I wanted to be a punk. That's pretty much what he's saying.
And he was.
Yes. And he's saying, but
Little.
but he's also saying that it's also important that the family comes together again. He's saying this is like a tribulation. That's what he's saying. He's saying this should not have divided the family at all. It should have brought others closer. But he's saying it's that one person feels, well, you should have did this. Oh, but I did. It's like a tug of war. That's what he's saying.
Yes.
And he's saying if one person was just to step forward and say, okay, you kind of being the bigger person, that's what he's saying. Okay, you felt I did this. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's just move forward. He's saying that will bring the family back together.
Is he sure?
He's saying in time. He's saying in time. He's all, but that won't happen until those efforts are made. Those efforts have to be ongoing. It can't be a struggle of power. That's what he's saying. He's saying because that's not what it's about. And he's even saying, he's acknowledging it. He's saying, it's going to be tough. You're going to get angry. You're going to become frustrated. You're going to kind of go into that hiding spot of yours.
I'm there.
You know, head covers over your head.
You just don't want to deal with it anymore.
Yeah.
You just get tired.
Oh, absolutely.
You want so bad to fix, it's a mom thing. You want to fix it so bad, but you get to a point where you realize you can't. You just keep trying and trying, and you get to a point where you just want to like physically hit people, which isn't going to solve anything for 30-year-olds, right? But you just get to a point where you're like, I don't think I can't fix this anymore.
It has to be them.
Yeah.
It has to be the siblings.
They have to make that choice.
Exactly.
I can't force them to.
Exactly.
I just don't know that they can.
They can.
Because, I think they get it from their mom, the stubbornness, right?
He's
Pride.
saying, you think?
Pride, stubbornness. Yeah, always have to be right on both sides. Yeah, 100%. They would give. Jacob was not that person. Jacob was the one. Whenever things amongst his siblings got like that, he was the one that usually kind of smoothed it over and brought it back together. He's not here to do that, so it's not as easy to be done.
He's saying, tell my siblings this. This is not how it's supposed to be. We are supposed to trust and love one another. It doesn't matter if we're living in different states, but there still has to be that communication, has to still have that unity together. Because ultimately, we are all that we have. I'm saying this is the time where let bygones be bygones. Everyone come together. Rejoice together. These are his exact words. He's also saying, tell my siblings, I did not suffer one bit. I did not suffer one bit.
He didn't.
No.
We still.
Yes. And that's the healing process. That's the process of being able to let go. And that's where the siblings are at right now. They have not fully allowed themselves to let go. And he's saying it's so important that they do. And again, like you said, as you mentioned, it's baby steps.
Yeah. I think you want so like I hear his message, but I don't know how to put it into action. Because you miss that. You miss them being together, laughing, joking around, doing all of that. And now it's just awkward.
An awkward silence, I think
Yeah.
that's what he said.
All the time. You don't want to blame anybody specific, right? Because I know the personalities. There's just hope, right? That's all I can have right now is hope that all of them will watch this and they'll hear his message and they'll be able to find it within themselves and their hearts to make that step.
And he's saying that they will. He's saying that they will.
Could it be sooner than later?
He said, well, I'm working on it.
Because I'm tired. You just, and maybe that's something like, other people who, you see all the groups on Facebook, Instagram, right, who've lost children, sons, daughters, whether it's through miscarriage, illness, accidents, even suicide. You try so hard emotionally to be present, but it becomes so draining that you start finding things to occupy yourself with so that you don't have to constantly deal with that, which doesn't really help. Let's just put that out there. It makes you more tired, right? Because you eventually go back to work if you can get out of that dark space. You go to work and you go to family functions and you start participating in life again, even with your kids. And if you only had one kid and you lost them, I can't imagine that struggle. But if you still start moving around and being somewhat attentive to life, it's exhausting. It's exhausting to look at your family and
this makes me feel so selfish when I look at my siblings, my sisters. I'm sad. They have all their kids, and I'm usually missing mine. And not just Jacob, right? They're out of state, so a lot of family functions, it's just, me and my daughter. And she's got a family, so sometimes it's, separated and we're alone. And I know they don't understand. I don't expect them to. But you try so hard to be normal that you're just exhausted all the time. And I do think that particular part of this situation is important for other people to understand. Don't give up because it's tired. You're tired, you're exhausted, you're numb, you're just moving through clouds. You, as a person, are important to somebody, right?
Absolutely.
Whether it's your spouse, who I think people need to understand this too. They lost someone too. I've seen my husband cry twice in almost 30 years, when his mom passed and when Jacob passed. And you're important to your other kids, your grandkids, your siblings, even though you don't feel like you are. You have to flip the switch and push yourself to realize that the one that you lost wants you to still be present for everybody else, right? I see myself as the one who keeps that memory alive, especially with the butterflies. I randomly found that. It's a little pricey if anybody, can find it, but butterfly releases are really, I found that it's important to other people who have also lost people. I've had friends come, and every year I say the same thing. I found a message in all of this turmoil that if you whisper your message to a butterfly, they'll deliver it to heaven, to the one that you lost. And I tell everybody who comes, your message doesn't have to be to Jacob. Mine is, but everybody's lost somebody, a sister, a husband, a father, a friend, whoever. You can send a message to anybody. And I always have multiple butterflies.
This is your first step. Actually, I take that back. Your first step was getting help. This is your second step by being able to come and share your story. And, we are all here for a purpose. We all experience certain things in our lifetime for one reason or for another. And I am a true believer that parents who have lost their children, whether it's to an accident, to suicide, to whatever it may have been, we have chosen to take this journey on, as bad as it sounds and as hurtful as it is, but use this as a way to help others, just how, as you mentioned, and you're doing that here by sharing your story, your beautiful story about your beautiful son.
Everything he's saying, right, it hits, but the walking through water, it's the pain. It's trying to get through the pain.
He's saying he's going to give you that strength. He's saying when you need that strength, call me. He goes, he's Superman. He says he has Superman strength. That's what he's saying.
He needs to show it more often because the struggle's real.
He's saying, I know, Mama, I know. And he's hugging you right now. He's saying he loves you.
I know. I miss him.
He's saying when you need to feel him, his energy, his presence, he's saying just call me.
Sometimes I do.
He's saying you need to do it more often. He's saying I will be the one who will lift you up. Thank you so much for doing this today and sharing your story.
You're welcome.
And now, of course, he's
Running away?
no, he's saying, how about those Yankees?